Sup, Ryu here for the Yugioh with the top 10 road decks from now to basically once we get that ABC deck, because I wanted to be a little more accurate on how I adjust when it comes to the top 10s. I just want to be more accurate in overall point. So before this gets started, if there's a top 10 you want me to do, and I have not done, because next week is going to be top 10 budget decks, make sure to tell me, and I will make sure to do one. So I'm going to make some mentions, honorable mentions, and I'll be honest, I didn't include anything that was on the top 10 meta, because that would be kind of a little bit beating the dead horse over and over again, like, hey, I mentioned them there, and I'm going to mention them here. That makes no sense whatsoever, you get what I mean? So I wanted to make sure that both lists feel individuality. There we go, that's a word we're going to use now. So everything on this list either makes for a good locals deck, regionals deck, or just has a good matchup against what I think will probably be the top decks, or at least one of the top decks, I should say. So the first and foremost one I want to talk about, these are the honorable mentions, is Six Samurai. Six Samurai don't really get enough love. Now, that's mainly because of the lack of support they have, but the fan base is still there. The Notorious Beast plays are still there, and that instantly locks down some of the best decks ever. It just shuts them off completely. I mean, come on. Being able to say no spells, no traps, it's always good. It's always pesky. I also want to mention Buster Blader, because Blue Eyes is currently a thing, and Buster Blader is able to have a great matchup against that, and has some amazing combos that really just need more support to really solidify the deck. And this is one that I definitely gotta give credit to you guys in the comments, Gashiki, because Gashiki is pretty much a really solid budget deck that you can go pick up for probably under $50 and play. And it doesn't really require an extra deck, but you could put in Gustav Max in your extra deck, and if you don't know Gustav Max, you're gonna be burning your opponent for 2,000. It's a rank 10. That's insane, the level of things you could do with that. But that just covers the mentions. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. Number 10, Evil Swarm. Being able to lock out Blue Eyes in the most disgusting manner. Being able to lock out even Kaiju. Being able to lock out anything that will special summon a level 5 or higher monster is always a great thing. This is a deck that plays on big back row, and there's really no reason not to really include it on this list, because Allure of Darkness being at 3 helps that deck so much. The only other thing the deck is begging for is Rescue Rabbit, so that way you can have a little more consistency with those Rescue Rabbit plays. Needless to say, it is one hell of a deck for the simple fact of Ophion. Ophion.deck. That's what most people will refer to Evil Swarms as, and that is absolutely fine. Being able to protect yourself before you get wrecked, the spell and trap protection, the ability to basically shut down your opponent's plays. If they were playing a rank, a high level deck like Blue Eyes, where you're bringing out big butts, big booty monsters, you bring out big bodies, and you're going to be able to just completely shut them down and say, no, you don't get to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Today. And it has such a disgusting combo with Vanity's Emptiness and Master Key Beetle that basically just says you cannot special summon. It does not matter if my cards are sent to the graveyard, because Vanity's is not going anywhere, because it's completely protected by Key Beetle. Granted, you can take out the Key Beetle, go from there, and then get over to Lock, but not a lot of decks can really do that, to be completely fair. And a lot of decks are going to need that I need to make my giant play to get there syndrome to actually have an out to it. So Evil Swarms number 10. Number 9, another great budget deck, but I wanted to include them on Rogue because I feel they're just better than just budget, to be completely fair, is Despots. The OTK power that this deck has, and it's pretty much the one thing that they really do. That's pretty much how you always see the games end, is they go turn 1, they make a giant play, they swarm the board with these tiny little robots that power themselves up or power each other up. They're like little conductors, but they're a machine deck. So they're the machine deck that doesn't require Cyber Dragon Infinity and can jump over Cyber Dragon Infinity in its sleep, which is great. So if that sounds fun to you, like you just want a really solid, super cheap deck, definitely Despots. But we're going to be talking about budget next week, because I want to I don't want to flood the channel with top 10, top 10, top 10, top 10. I don't want to do that. I want to give you something different, something to look forward to each day of the week. But Despot's definitely deserving their number 9 spot. Number 8, this is a deck that some of you were a little surprised I didn't put on the top 10 meta decks because I think it's under meta until the construct one day comes back, is Trains Shadow. Now, I'm technically talking about trains because I think trains as a whole have such a such a potential to really make it out there. But I think the Shadow version or variant is probably the best way to play the deck. Because think about it this way, just stay with me here. The ability to put Winda on the board cripples Synchro decks. It stops Yang Zings because of the simple fact that they will only get to float once. And if you're going Winda on your turn after making a giant play and being able to lock down that Yang Zing player, they're going to go 1, and then if they special 1, that's it. They don't get another special summon. Blue Eyes do have an easier time getting over when it comes to the Winda play. But then, of course, you have the Earth Shadow, which with trains is really easy to bring out. And I'll be honest, this is not going to be on the budget list because Shadows are not cheap. Because we're talking $10 Shadow fusions. Those things add up for any kind of budget-friendly deck. So that's kind of why I'm not going to do it. Also, it goes pretty much without saying, any deck that could bust out Gustav Max and the other Train Exceed. I call it Train Exceed. I know it's another Gustav Max Exceed. Anything that could bust out Ring 10 so consistently and easy is a scary fucking deck, needless to say. So if you have not tried Train Shadows, give them a go. I'm definitely going to put them on the channel. My number 7 spot, this deck has proven itself more than once, and that's why I'm putting it on the list tonight, is Demise.deck. Or some people would want to just say Cleaforts. I'm going to mix the two because I'm going to say Demise variants, and that will include Cleaforts, to be completely fair, because I don't think just Cleafort Demise is going to be the only Demise deck in town. There could be Demise Cosmo, there could be Demise whatever. Demise is such a flexible way of classifying certain decks, especially Cleafort. It's basically saying Floodgate.deck because it's super heavy back row that only gets punished by Twin Twister, and they can regenerate the card advantage that they had before by correctly playing card Demise and getting those 3 cards and being able to set up their board all over again to lock you out and then just, of course, slowpoke you. I also want to further the notion of Demise decks that Demise anti-meta could also be included here, or anti-meta could also be included here, because I think Demise would fit perfectly within that whole range of how anti-meta will probably pop itself up. I do think we're probably going to get at least one regional, if not a YCS, that we see an anti-meta deck just top. All the pieces are there. Card Demise at 3, lose 1 turns, Macros Cosmos. You have all the flexibilities for any kind of matchup you're going to go against. Even if Macro and, say, D-Fissure are limited, there's still Banisher of the Radiance, and with Card Demise, obviously, it makes it so much easier to get to those cards. My number 6 spot is Fluffle. I know, some people just absolutely despise Fluffle. It's a degenerate deck that doesn't deserve to be on Ryu's magical list of magicalness, but guess what? It's here. Fluffles are a deck that can contend with some of the best decks because they do what other decks can't do. They are the equivalent of the fusion version of a synchro deck. That is my best way of really classifying it to someone who may not understand how Fluffles work. Everything you get when it comes to synchro spam and the advantage you can make, Fluffles do that, but with fusions and, of course, with cute little fluffy monsters that turn to hideous monstrosities that look like they came out of the Five Nights at Freddy's series, and I don't like that series at all, enough said. But Fluffles are an amazing deck that can basically just screw up your opponent's plays, destroy everything that they wanted to use against you, and then, of course, go from there. The ability to OTK, the ability to just make comeback plays, it's nuts. Hilarious that the deck just gets curb stomped by Vanity's Emptiness if, they don't have Twin Twister, but There's a lot of decks like that, so you can't fault them for it. But Fluffles definitely deserve their number 6 spot. And now we get into the final 5. Before I do these 5, just because I play something, say at number 6 or whatnot, and you see it as higher, these are just my opinions. And overall, the main fact is, as long as I'm talking about it, that's what should matter. Is that people are talking about it. It would be stupid if we've all had the same kind of idea. So I just want to make that known. And in case you hear some scratches in the back, we're in the reptile room, and of course it's feeding time. Just had to get that joke in there. But here we go. Number 5, Blackwings. And I know some of you are probably going to go, wait, you didn't put them higher on the list? Nope. I'm going to explain why. You'll see why when we get to the other 5. But Blackwings are an amazing deck that even with all this new support, and some people just want to say, no, they're shit. Allure of Darkness at 3. Blizzard that gets access into Coral Dragon or into No Thing, the Starlight, which gives you an additional normal summon, their own version of a Utopia Lightning-esque monster that can power pump itself to 6,000, and then you could drop Collude to end gains extremely quickly. And I don't even have to attack into a monster to gain those 3,000 additional attack points. That's what I'm saying. Blackwings have some crazy damage output for very little cost. And there's really not a high skill level that you have to learn to play Blackwings. It's not that hard. Blackwings have everything it takes to be a top contender for any list. Any list. I think they fit perfectly as Rogue right now, especially with the ability of 3 Allure of Darkness. All their cards are at 3 outside of, I want to say, Royal Oppression, because back when Blackwings were topping, that was the card that they played. And of course, Royal Oppression, for those of you who don't know, is a much, much dumber version of Vanity's Emptiness. Vanity's Emptiness is a lot more balanced, I'll say that much. It's a lot more balanced compared to Royal Oppression. Because Royal Oppression was continuous and you would just pay 800, but your opponent could do it too to you. So, I mean, they still have pretty much a way to use it in form of Vanity's Emptiness. But Blackwings have all these different routes that they could take. They don't have to be a Synchro heavy deck. They don't have to be an Exceed heavy deck. There's so many ways to play them, and I think that's part of the appeal that some people just don't get. And honestly, if you don't get that, they're not just a great rogue deck, they're a great budget deck. But I would argue to say that they're not super duper budget friendly, because I recommend Force Tricks in the deck, and that's a $20 card by itself. And I forgot to go over that on Stock Market, so someone remind me, please. Just throw it into the stock market comment section, so that way when I go back on Thursday, I can actually go over that. And I forget sometimes. I really do. I always forget certain things. But that's why I have you guys. Moving on, number 4, we have Elemental Heroes, or Mask Heroes, if you want to put it, or just heroes in general. Because honestly, we're not including Invasion of Venom on this whole list right now. Which is the crazy part, because if we were, hello Hero Frog, how the hell are you? Oh, I'm feeling great. And I got to play against it the other day, and it was disgustingly fucking terrifying, needless to say. We're talking about Dark Law. We're talking about, Big Back Row. You have Dark Law, you have Anki, you have... if you go the absolute zero route with like Miracle Fusion or Polymerization, you have Blaze Man that searches out Polymerization. There's so much flexibility, and I know someone's going to just start like hashtagging free Stratos in the comment section. I'm sorry, it's 2016. It's okay that Stratos did not come back. We don't need it. We don't need it. The deck is fine where it is, and it's good. It's a good, solid deck. Would you rather have like Bubble Man at 1 and Shadow Mist at 1 just to have Stratos at 1? Me? Hell no. I'll take it the other way. The ability to just go into Utopia Lightning like it's no one's business. Like if you're just taking a power nap and it just happened. Things like that with heroes are just so good. The deck is smooth. It's quality smooth. I've been saying quality a lot. It's smooth, like butter. It just comes out, you drop the Danklaw, you sit there with your troll face, and you put some nice back row on there, and your opponent can't jump over the Danklaw, and then you win. But heroes play really aggressively because of the mere fact that a hero lives, pay half your life points and put some on the board, and then hope to God that something doesn't get removed, is why they're pretty much not higher on the list. So I just wanted to say that. But number 3, definitely Kaijus, because Kaijus are so underrated, but we're talking about a deck that has outs to everything that's not called Evil Swarm. And for the Evil Swarm matchup, that's why they should be running Greydels, because with Greydels, you smack the Ophion in the face and say, hi, and then you steal the Ophion for your own use, and then you go from there. And then you can play like Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, and then, of course, get your benefit from there. But it goes further than just the Greydel. It goes further than just the Kaiju. It's the mere fact of being able to steal your opponent's monster or tribute them off. And that is a beautiful thing. It really is. When you're able to sit there and go, okay, you put all this time to get that Quasar, and all I have to do is say, I summon Kaiju Sea Turtle to your side of the board, and then I get to special one to my side from my hand. Yes, you lose 2 cards, but look what you just jumped over. That's the sheer, bullshit that is so good about Kaijus. And I'm not trying to say Kaijus are bad by saying bullshit to them, but it's just ridiculous to think, especially if you played the game as long as I have, that you're just going to have such an easy out to things. You just sit there and you're like, what in the world is Yu-Gi-Oh anymore, and why don't I get to play it? You know what I mean? You go for Raid Raptor, Ultimate Falcon. Your opponent's playing Kaijus. You know what happens to that Ultimate Falcon? Oh, I'm unaffected by everything. Get Tribute. Get Tribute. All your investment just went to hell. That is the beauty of Kaiju, and that's why they're number 3, because it's beautiful. So my number 2 spot, is going to Dark Synchro, which is basically the deck that's been topping in OCG land, and I do think it has potential. I have not talked about it. I do think it has potential to top in TCG. We have 3 Lord of Darkness. They have Card Destruction, Pot of Avarice. I'd rather have what they have than what we have. We have a hard time with consistent hands with the deck, but when it goes off, Cyframe Lord Omega with 3 of those bad boys, ripping cards from your opponent's hand, and even dropping Trish sometimes with that, it's just pulverizing to your opponent. The sheer fact that you're able to rip out so many cards, and when you think about it, if your opponent plays like Twin Twister or whatnot on you, or just say they go for a Surge Power card, that's, whatever, that's one out of their hand, you chain, you rip one, they go minus to activate something, say they, like Twin Twister, you could rip out another one, and you can rip out another one, that's 4 cards lost. And then you combine that with Trish, that's 5. It's easy to see, especially with any kind of hand loop, why that would be so good. Add on the fact that the deck is a 2-card combo, and not the typical Synchron, I need these 4 cards to line up to have the ultimate, search power in play. The deck uses Hyper Librarian. I'm going to feature it on the channel shortly enough. Trust me, the wait's not going to be too long, probably by the end of next week. But, it's just fantastic. And the flexibility between builds that you could do with it is just the nuts. I love it. I recently started playing with it because I wanted to have the knowledge to talk about it, do a deck profile on it, so this way you guys who don't know, like I didn't know, I wasn't keeping up on the OCG meta, we get to see it. But God, it's so good, and you could go the the Tamaya build. You can go the Ulta Maya build, and then just have Void Ogre Dragons and whatnot, and Crystal Wings coming out. It's so good, and the flexibility for that is just through the roof. The last one I want to talk about is something that you guys brought up, and I did research, and I felt it's like having egg on my face. So, first and foremost, I have to retract my statement that I said I don't see Cyber Angels topping, because they did top OICS. And that is my problem, my fault, for not doing the research behind it. I wasn't even aware, so out of the loop, to be completely honest, so that's why they are my number 1. My number 1 is Cyber Angels, because you guys brought it to my attention, and yes, the deck has Saphira, it has the Herald's Protection, it has just everything it needs currently to really make it out there. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know exactly how the deck works. I've only seen certain parts to it, and that's where I was making my ill-advised judgment there. It was my mistake to really say, oh, they probably won't top unless they have Herald. To be fair, there's so many decks that come out, and I've only been keeping up on certain decks, and I feel bad about it. I feel awful about it, but they topped the YCS, so obviously they got something going for them. So I definitely want it. Is not because I didn't say I didn't mention them that they're number one. I really do think out of everything they have the most consistent plays, because the Manju, the new field card, which again I think on Stock Market Alert, basically the bonus video for Stock Market, I went over that card because I forgot it even came to the TCG, and that's where I was also making my judgment. I'm like, wait, this isn't out in the TCG. But it's like, duh. Konami released so much stuff that they pretty much got lost in the shuffle for me, personally. So, I retract what I said that I don't see them topping, because obviously they are topping. It's a fantastic deck. Especially with Sapphire, there's so many ways that you can go about that. And I can't wait to see what else comes from it. And I'm going to try them out, put them on the channel, because I feel so wrong. The way I was like, no, they're not going to top. And they fucking just like egg on the face. So, definitely check out all those decks. I mentioned 13 decks. And that was cut from a list of 25. Needless to say, there's some that just really can't keep up there. Madolche, I wanted to mention Madolche because they top Worlds. I'll mention it here. I wanted to mention them, but just, I don't know. I just don't see them topping afterwards and before they do. You never know. Sometimes it's the player behind the deck and not just the deck that gets the victory. As crazy as that one sounds. But I just want to quickly say thank you guys so much for watching all the videos and all the new recent subscribers. It's a joy to have each and every one of you. And coffee time's going to be Monday. Tomorrow's going to be Guide to Your Side with the deck profile. I'm trying to make the videos on the weekend a little bit more important than I ever have. And for the past couple of weeks, at least I've been consistent on it. So, fingers crossed we keep that up. But thank you guys so much for watching. And if there is a top 10 list you want me to do, let me know in the comment section below, and I will make it happen for you. Till next time, thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.